Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. My name is John Ashley, a pseudonym of a realtor here in the great state of Arizona, here to help you with your real estate sales skills. Why? Well, it's just sort of my way to pay it forward for all the people who've given me the tips, the tricks, the things to say to get the contract signed when I needed it the most. Their only request of me? Well, simply pay it forward, and this is my opportunity to you, the listener. Thank you so much for joining me today on episode number 422, How to Present a Wholesale Offer. How to present a wholesale offer. Chances are, if you're a new realtor investor or a new wholesaler, you've felt that moment of uncomfortableness. You know, when you're face to face with a seller, you know, you're uncomfortable because you want to offer a lot less than they want. I mean, trust me, I've been there. Yeah, I remember one of the best deals I ever got was a $225,000 fourplex that I bought for $115,000. Believe me, I can appreciate what you feel when you say things like, if you're not uncomfortable, it's not low enough. I have certainly been there. Many times, I mean, this is why you try to get them to agree with you on the price over the phone. Or you try to email massive amounts of offers, things of that nature. You know, it's a lot like thinking that it's spaghetti against the wall, just throwing it to see what sticks. You know, you definitely don't want to confront a seller on the price. I mean, you certainly don't want to write the offer right there in front of them. I mean, good Lord, what if you go through the house and you just want to write the offer up for this ridiculously low amount of offer right there in front of them? You don't want to do all that. I mean, it's really a miracle how we get paid at all, given the way we act. To help you increase your chances of getting your contract signed, I'm going to share a few ideas with you to help you present your wholesale offer powerfully, convincingly, persuadingly so that the seller will see your thing, your offer, as a viable possibility. Can't say he'll take it, but he'll look at it as a real possibility. So if you've got a pen and you've got a piece of paper, I want you to write down point number 1. You must have confidence. You must have confidence. See, if you're new, many times the problem is you lack confidence. When you think about it, you know, I've had an opportunity to meet many of you. I remember meeting many of you in Phoenix last year. I know that I'll be meeting many of you in New Jersey coming up in August, perhaps. And the reality is, I believe many times, I think I believe more in you than you do. Because I see the potential you have. You have no bad habits. No beliefs that are going to limit you. And without confidence in your own abilities, you won't have power. See, you typically start out in this business lacking that belief. I mean, you lack belief in your ability. You lack confidence in your skills. You don't know exactly what to say. You don't know exactly what to do. You know, and as such, you're paralyzed many times. But as you learn what to say and become more comfortable responding instantaneously to people, well, then you gain power and confidence. Why? Well, that's simple, simply because you know what to say. Think about it. It's like instant reflexes. When you don't have to think about it, when it just flows from you, concepts and ideas, where it's part of you. It becomes natural. It becomes real. It's not canned. It's planned. I'm partial to the pawn shop presentation myself, obviously. And the reason why I think a pawn shop works so well for wholesaling is because most people are familiar with a pawn shop. I mean, they don't really associate any kind of negative stuff with it. I mean, regardless of their, socioeconomic background, I mean, most people have probably been in a pawn shop for one reason or another. Either to get rid of something they didn't want anymore, or maybe they needed it. It didn't make a difference. They all know what it is, and most people don't have a problem with it. By explaining what you do is a lot like that. Not all, just a lot. A lot of what you do is a lot like a pawn shop. It's easy for people to understand that you're a little bit different. See, you need to be different. You need to be different than every other investor in your marketplace. So to be different than every other investor in your marketplace, you need to go ahead and adopt the mindset, a powerful mindset of being a buyer. And once you've adopted that mindset, well then, guess what? You're judged by a whole new set of rules. But you've got to distinguish yourself from those buyers as well and say, you know what? I'm not exactly an investor, not quite a buyer. I'm just somebody, it's a lot like a pawn shop that I run. I run a business selling homes. I'm a consumer in the marketplace. This allows you to have the confidence to tell them the truth about the values during your comparable presentations. Which leads us to point number 2. You must have knowledge. See, in order for you to present powerfully, to really make an impact in somebody's life, to give them a point of reference, a reason to remember you, you have to have knowledge. You got to have market knowledge in specific. Days on market. How many homes come on the market? How many homes sold? How long does it take for me to get my home sold and get my money? You got to have that kind of knowledge. And in order for you to handle their objections that they're going to have, well, you have to share the knowledge. Because appreciate this, they're not going to be in tune in the market as you are. So you have to be able to communicate effectively the reality of the marketplace. Trust me, people are not complete morons. If you give them solid facts, I'm not saying that they're going to magically just, oh boy, we can't wait to sign your offer. It's not going to happen like that. No, but if you give people solid facts, you're going to be able to bring them from the stratosphere down to where you can actually deal with them. See, if you're coming into a situation where their home is worth, let's say, $175,000, and you come in without comparables, without market knowledge, without demonstrating any kind of market knowledge, and you just say, well, I think I'm willing to give you X, well, that's based on what? In order for you to handle their objections, in order for you to present, you got to have and share the knowledge. And in order for you to share that knowledge, you got to present the comparables after you've toured the home. So a real simple audio description of how that kind of works out. You come up to the house, knock on the door, all right? Because you don't know if that doorbell is going to work. I mean, it might be broken. You don't want to stand outside looking like a stalker. Knock on the door, smile, pay him a compliment, something that's authentic, something that's genuine. Would you mind taking me for the 10-cent tour? Have them take you around the house, show you around, exhibit some showmanship, direct them to the kitchen table, which is where your show's going to be. Take them to a safe island. Take them to where they don't feel like they're afraid. Like that, because you know how it is when you're a salesperson. They come in, they think that you're going to beat them up or something, or if you're an investor or something, you're going to tear them apart. No, give them some peace of mind. Take them to a safe island. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of three things could happen today. You could choose to sell your home to me, and I'd like that. It looks like a great place, a lot of potential. Or you could choose not to sell your home to me. Or I could choose not to buy your home, and any one of those is fine. Fair enough? And once you've established that neutral ground for everybody, off comes the load. They don't feel so under stress anymore. Now, you can start to talk to them about the values. When you start talking about the values, what you want to do is I recommend that you pull comparables the same way an appraiser would do. If it's possible, get your agent to pull all the currently listed properties as well as the sold properties, in that subdivision for the past 6 months. That's the way your appraiser does it. And this is why it's critical for you to establish that relationship. You want to choose 3 actives and 3 solds if possible. If you use more than that, it just confuses them. And by all means, show them to them interactively. Don't spill out 6 different pages of actives and solds, and they're going to go ahead and start looking at everything. You're going to lose control quickly. Show them the comparables one by one, interactively. Ask them about this, ask them about that. Do you know this street? Do you know that home? Did you know these people? And then once you've shown them everything, ask them what price do they feel is a fair price for their home. Now understand, if they want, let's say it's $175 that it's worth, and let's say that they consider that they're giving you a steal at $110. Let's say you want to make an offer of $80,000 or less, right? I would recommend you go ahead and make that pawn shop presentation at that moment. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, a lot of what I do is a lot like a pawn shop. You know how it is. You bring mom's jewels in, they might be worth $100. You might get 60. Well, in this case, it's a lot like that. So let me ask you a question. I know you said $110, but if I paid all your closing costs and I paid all cash and I closed when you wanted to and I took it as is, you got to explain how your offer is different. You got to emphasize that. How it's different. It's not like everybody else's offer. Everybody else's residential resale offer is they're asking for closing costs, they're asking for appraisals, they have all kinds of contingencies. Your offer's not like that. Explain how it's different. Which leads us to point number 3, present with power. Present with power. Your offer is different than any other they've ever had. About 95% of the people you deal with, this is their first time with an investor. As such, they think, your offer is just like everybody else's, right? You have to point out why it's different. Not only do pawn shops buy with the intent to sell later, that part's kind of clear. They get that. But the reason why pawn shops work so great as a metaphor for a wholesale transaction is because they buy with cash. They pay all your closing costs. You want to sell that watch? It's done. Right? They take it as is. I mean, yeah, if it's something unique, like a gun or a truck or a tank or whatever, it's subject to some kind of inspection. But other than that, that's it. And they close fast. I mean, what a perfect model for our business. Present this idea as an alternative to listing their home or going through the hassle of selling it by owner month after month after month. Your offer is different. That's why it's less. And don't think that they're going to say, oh no, we want the most money possible. That's not always the case. How to overcome that difference, that when you want to offer them, say, $70,000 and they want to take $110,000, how do you get that $50,000, $60,000 difference? How do you do that? You argue both sides. You argue both sides for maximum effectiveness. But you have to make your side more compelling. Oh, sure, Mr. Seller, of course you could of course have your home on the market for another 3-4 months and try and get that 110. Of course you could. I'm not saying you couldn't do that. But I am saying that, I don't know, when over half the homes on MLS don't sell the first time around, seems to me like if you need to move to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a sure thing is better than nothing. Wouldn't you agree? Ladies and gentlemen, that's salesmanship. That's what you're here for. To help them get to Tuscaloosa, Alabama in the time that they want. Oh, of course you could sell it yourself, Mr. Seller. However, have you ever considered the problem that creates for you? Argue both sides of that equation. And I think what you'll discover is they will be more amenable to your price and terms. And you'll be able to find a way to make it work. Hopefully, you now have the confidence that you need that's going to cause you to go out and share the knowledge that you have. It's my belief that if you do that, this is going to give you that power, that extra bump, that adrenaline boost you need, to really talk about the authority, with authority with that seller. Talk about the price and the things that they need to do. Why? Because you have that knowledge, that product knowledge. And by asking powerful questions about their motivation, you're going to be able to demonstrate how your offer, even though it's low, it's not the same type of offer that they might ordinarily expect. And by doing this, this is going to give you the ability to present powerfully, speak knowledgeably, and close effectively. Have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.